Today we have Daily Bit number 71. It's Tuesday, March 27th, and today the big story was Coinbase. While it revolves around Coinbase, they announced that they're going to be adding ERC20 tokens in the future. So digital assets are coming to Coinbase. We'll go into this more in a little bit. But first things first, I have a little disclaimer in here because everybody has a disclaimer, so why not us? All information here is for educational purposes only. This is not intended to provide financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. Consult a financial advisor before investing your money in any financial instrument, such as a highly speculative instrument such as cryptocurrencies or digital assets. Okay, anyways, before we get into everything, if any of you guys want to subscribe to our newsletter, check out our website, www.thedailybit.news. It's right in front of you as you go there. So again, it's a free newsletter Monday through Friday. If you want to check that out, feel free. Again, you're going to get this in real time, and then the live stream comes and is replicated off of the newsletter that we send out. So again, if you want, take a look. If not, just stick around and watch the live streams. Table of contents, again, same stuff as usual. Today, for Word on the Street, we are going to look at Coinbase and their decision to add or provide support for ERC20 tokens. After that, we're going to look at LitePay and how that project essentially imploded for Where's Blockchain. USPS, United States Postal Service, they recently filed a patent for blockchain solutions, and we're going to take a look at that and see what that essentially entails. For what else you should read today, just again general stories that you can kind of keep looking at throughout the day. Bulls and Bears. Request Network landed a partnership with PwC France. We're going to take a look at that. And then in Quebec in Canada, a utility company is no longer accepting applications for cryptocurrency miners, and we're going to once again jump into that, see what's going on there. And for education, we're going to end it off with self-directed IRAs. So again, that's just a layout. The tweet of the day has to do with Facebook, and this guy, Dylan Curran, he said he basically exposed Facebook and Google for, well, I guess not exposed, but brought to light all the information that these companies really have on all of us, and he's pretty freaked out. This went super viral. I think he at one point had I think this might have been retweeted or liked over 100,000 times. So people clearly didn't know what was going on here. But again, just going through some of the stuff that Dylan uncovered here. Apparently, I had no idea about this. Google stores your location if you have it turned on. So every single time you turn on your phone, there's a little stamp, a little bleep on a radar that shows where you've been around the world. So again, if you're concerned about your privacy and you weren't really expecting corporations to have a hold of this, I mean, Google basically knows everything about us, and same with Facebook. So again, like if they wanted to do anything nefarious or use this against our will, there's a plethora of information out there that lets them do this. Again, all of your YouTube history, they know if you're going to be a parent, conservative, progressive, Jewish, Christian, Muslim. I mean, everything. So again, this is used for advertising. This is used for targeted ads. I sometimes think that if I have a phone conversation, I had a phone conversation about going skiing a couple weeks ago, and I got hit with a skiing ad on Instagram. Like I don't know. I don't think that can't be a coincidence. I think that somehow there's something in there that ended up making that happen. Who knows? Maybe I'm nuts. But anyways, there's a bunch of information that these companies pull off of people, and it wasn't really known beforehand, and now it's kind of getting out there, and a lot of people that are concerned about privacy are realizing that they don't really have much privacy because these companies really do retain so much information. So again, just something interesting that's been going around the internet. Figured I'd share. Thought it might be interesting for everybody. For Word on the Street, again, Coinbase is supporting ERC20 tokens. It came out yesterday in a Coinbase blog, and for anybody that isn't aware, an ERC20 token basically just means it's a token that is built on top of the Ethereum blockchain. And the idea behind ERC20 is just to make sure that there's a framework in place to make sure that tokens can be built quickly. There's an order of operations going about the construction of these tokens. I believe there's 6 criteria measured or outlined when constructing these tokens and assets, what they have to abide by. But again, it's all for simplicity's sake. The products that are going to be affected for Coinbase, Coinbase has 5 different products, according to their blog, that Each of them is going to be impacted differently, but again, you can just see that the Coinbase is preparing for the rollout, so they're assuming that they're going to be adding more tokens, specifically on GDAX, and then from there, for the Coinbase platform, because GDAX and Coinbase are two different exchanges. GDAX doesn't have fees, and Coinbase is really where people get onboarded. I believe you have to transfer your assets over to GDAX, but Coinbase is going to be a little more particular. They're going to go through an additional review process for all the assets that are listed on GDAX, and there's also been no indication of what ERC20 tokens are going to be added onto GDAX, which ones are going to be added to Coinbase custody, which ones are going to be added to the index fund. For Coinbase Asset Management, whatever tokens are listed on GDAX are going to be incorporated into their index fund in terms of weighted market cap. So again, right now it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash, and it's all by market weight. So Bitcoin takes up a substantial amount of that chunk, but let's say, I don't know, I'm speculating here, but let's say, EOS is added in. Then EOS's market cap would be accounted for along with all those, and it would be on a proportion of that total market cap, and that's how much EOS would go in. If it was 10% of the market cap of those 5 coins, then EOS would represent 10% of the index fund. But again, that's something that it's fairly easy to replicate, and this is an aside, I'm thinking of constructing a portfolio to replicate Grayscale Investments Index Fund and then a couple other index funds just for an exercise to make sure that, to see if I can kind of build up an Excel model. But again, that's just something that I thought of doing, and I figured it would be a good exercise just to keep me aware of rebalancing and how to go about it. I don't know if anybody would be interested in doing that, but maybe that's something I could do on Twitch in a live stream and just kind of track my progress. And again, for Coinbase, they're doing their interviews, they're doing their selection process, and for Coinbase Commerce, this is we spoke about this yesterday or the other day, but essentially Coinbase Commerce is a tool that's being replaced. It's replacing the Coinbase Merchant tool. They're all attention from the Coinbase Merchant tool is being shifted over to Coinbase Commerce, and essentially Coinbase Commerce allows merchants and businesses and companies to accept multiple cryptocurrencies as payment for their goods online or on their store, and it can all be stored in one wallet. So right now there's not really an idea how they're going to go forward with that, but again, this is just the information that was announced in the blog. And if we do want to get speculative here, there are a ton of ERC20 tokens. We'll see further down in the presentation that on Etherscan, I believe there's over 62,000 ERC20 compatible tokens. So obviously most of those are well below the belt for Coinbase. They have no shot of ever getting added. Just keep dreaming. But of the, I don't know, maybe 50 to 100, the 50 to 100 top ERC20 tokens, those are where you're going to see, that's where you're going to start to see a lot of these communities getting very, very confident that, or very, they're getting speculative about what could be added and what could be included on Coinbase as it comes up. And Zeus is not within that community. He's just a thought leader that I personally think is a genius and pretty respected. I find him funny and valuable, insightful at the same time. And he provided this insight on ZRX that, along with facilitating trustless peer-to-peer exchanges of ERC20 tokens, the Ox team has ties to Coinbase and is the relayer implemented by Coinbase in their ERC20 dApps decentralized exchange. I don't know anything about the second half of that tweet, but then as Zeus apparently is like, look, they have ties here. If anything, OX would be a potential ad. He wouldn't really be surprised about that. And somebody on the Coinbase blog also mentioned too, I believe Will Warren is the co-founder of ZRX, so that was another potential, I don't know, I guess an Easter egg that people saw and said, hey, if you're going to start adding tokens, then ZRX could be an option there. So again, I'll get to that explanation after we go through the rest of these. Again, another one, I wrote this in the newsletter, maybe OMG, and again, just looking at what's going on in the community, what use cases these tokens are being called for. The Bank of Thailand tweeted out at Omnisego's co-founder and CEO the other week. So again, if we're looking at projects that actually have solid fundamentals and are valuable, and there's going to be a market for them, if the Bank of Thailand's reaching out to Omnisego to help them with their cross-border payments and remittances, then who knows? Maybe Coinbase would think that there's an appetite for that with traditional investors, which I personally think there is. Absolutely. I mean, you look in the community, and this was actually pulled from this Humpty Dumpty, which love that name, by the way. This was pulled from OmniSego subreddit, and he makes a very good point, or he or she, whoever, that, again, there's so many ERC20 token subreddits that are having these conversations right now saying what is going to go on. Like, hey guys, like, do you think we have a good ad? Do you think we have a good chance of getting added to Coinbase? I mean, yeah, maybe, but at the end of the day, you can shill it as much as you want. You can shill your coin as much as you want. It's not, I'd hope it doesn't impact the folks over at Coinbase that are making these decisions, because at the end of the day, you can shill, but they have their criteria that they have to follow, and again, I don't know if Brian Armstrong needs any more flack after the Bitcoin Cash ad, because that was just a nightmare in itself. Coinbase had to get shut down along with GDAX for a couple weeks, and it came at a very impromptu listing. So again, that's where Coinbase is really sticking to their criteria about when they're going to be announcing tokens in the future, and I'm sure that has a lot to do with the legal risk that carries with spontaneously listing these tokens. So again, they're going to follow their regulations and their protocols, but it's kind of interesting just to see what these subreddits and communities for all these tokens are doing, or what's going to go on in these communities. And don't get me wrong, there's going to be some Easter eggs and some useful information that gets dumped in these communities too, to make you reckon, all right, like what's going to go on, and oh, like maybe that is a valuable piece of information, and that is substantive evidence to suggest that this could be added onto the platform as time goes on. So, I mean, again, it's just make sure you can filter out the noise and understand that a lot of it is going to be just people trying to pump their bags. But, again, I think it is valuable. I mean, I go through this all the time. And another thing, too, getting back to what I was saying earlier about the ERC20 tokens, there's north of 62,000 ERC20 tokens or contracts found on Etherscan. And again, if you're thinking about, all right, what could be added, then a good place to start is the market cap, because you need to have Coinbase. Coinbase is going to be looking for liquidity too. That's one of the that's a huge criteria for tokens and coins to be listed to their platform, because the thing is, like, if a coin isn't liquid, there's going to be even more volatility. So any of these, and that's also what some of these digital assets have to gain. If they are listed on Coinbase, GDAX, if they are added to these index funds, there's going to be increased liquidity on the I guess brought to the token, and from that, I would expect that volatility would sort of be dampened from that. I mean, if there's shorter or tighter spreads between bids and asks, the price is going to jump around as much, presumably. I mean, if order books are thin on one side, I mean, that's all it really takes for prices to really rocket. If there's more of a thick, even-weighted order book, then it's going to take longer for prices to kind of get out of control, and that's how we're going to start seeing some of these coins turn out to be more stable down the road. So again, Coinbase adding these ERC20 tokens, it's a start towards what I think, and I've seen other people in the community too, specifically Pomp, and I'm sure he's not the only one, that is thinking that security tokens, this is only a route to security tokens at the end of the day. I mean, Circle and Poloniex, Jesus, yikes, and Poloniex, they're well on their way to including security tokens. It's been listed in their news. Goldman is very, very keen on getting involved in the crypto space. They were able to do that with Poloniex, and the fact that there are going to be many more assets that are going to be backed and issued on the blockchain for these ICOs instead of going the IPO route. I mean, there's going to be many, many more security tokens that are going to be issued that are compliant with regulatory bodies that adhere to any KYC AML policies. So again, I think that there's going to be a transition, definitely from digital assets initially, just ERC20, and then a wider base of security tokens that are going to be added to Coinbase at the end of the day. And I definitely think that there's going to be a trend for any other exchanges that don't offer, like I said, aren't as expansive right now. And this is only going to even the playing field. I mean, we saw the other day how Abra has a crazy amount of cryptocurrencies that are offered on their platform. I believe there's up to 20 right now. And then there's an additional 50 fiat currencies along with that. So again, Coinbase adding ERC20 tokens is not going to, it's going to even the playing field. They're not going to, actually, who knows? They might still suffer with Abra, but they're going to be able to retain more customers if you can offer more diversified investments. It really just comes down to additional perks on top of that. So, again, user to user there. Moving forward, LitePay does not pay off. LitePay, for anybody that remembers, it was launched on February 20. It was supposed to be launched on February 26th. LitePay was going to be a debit card, Visa-backed debit card that allowed you to pay for anything where Visa was accepted with Litecoin. So it would be integrated directly. The debit card would be integrated directly with your Litecoin wallet. There would be instantaneous transactions and conversions over to fiat. I believe there was a 1% flat fee. So all the talk was really, really great. Charlie Lee himself even tweeted out, we'll see. Initially, he was backing it a lot, but it turns out that following a Reddit AMA where the Litecoin Foundation was a little, I believe they were concerned about what was going on at LitePay. There wasn't really much visibility going on at the corporation, but basically, it turns out that the CEO is ceasing operations and plans to sell the company. So any hope that people had about getting a Litecoin debit card is now out the window, at least for the time being. So Charlie was kind of doing I guess he wasn't doing damage control, but he had to apologize or kind of acknowledge and communicate with people in the community, just letting them know, look, we fucked up. We didn't do our diligence. This happened, unfortunately, and we won't do, or we'll try our best to make sure it doesn't happen again. I mean, it was a bad look just because a lot of people were disappointed. But again, as we see, like the Litecoin Foundation, their goal and their mission statement says, quote unquote, the goal is to advance Litecoin for the good of society by developing and promoting state-of-the-art blockchain technologies. So when you look at this, the Litecoin Foundation is a fund to allocate dollars to projects that they believe are going to be valuable for the Litecoin ecosystem in the long term. So when LitePay came about, everybody believed that it was going to be kind of the next big thing that would help with Litecoin's growth and Litecoin's adoption. So again, Charlie mentioned that they provided seed funding to LitePay. That ended up being a balance of $50,000. Whether or not that's big or small, I mean, it's really relative. It depends on what you consider to be big or small. It depends on how much funding the Litecoin Foundation has at the end of the day. But there were a couple red flags that Charlie announced too on his Twitter feed as he was going through speaking with people, and as you can see outlined there. The webpage was copied apparently. I took a look at the webpage and there really wasn't anything there. It was pretty empty. It was a ghost town. I just figured that was because they were waiting to launch everything, but it turns out that was really kind of going along with the whole con or the whole scheme. There was never going to be anything out of there. And again, they just weren't transparent with the Litecoin Foundation, so they didn't love that. And one of the reasons that there's so many people that, at least it seems like there's a lot of people that are pissed off, because expectations weren't aligned with reality. Initially, Charlie backed it, as I mean he should. If you're kind of at the wheel here, supporting and helping a project grow, such as Litecoin, you're going to want to back the projects that you're invested in and you think that are going to help grow the ecosystem. So I don't hate the fact. I don't blame Charlie for promoting it initially. He thought it was going to be great for the ecosystem, and after they did some of their homework and had these interviews with Litecoin, I mean, yeah, sure, like you're going to get excited about something that you think is going to send your project to the next level and really help integrate it with society. That would have been a major move to get a debit card for Litecoin. So obviously he was excited. And of course, the fact that it didn't really turn out and pan out the way that it was supposed to, people are going to be pissed off. And again, this is just a tweet that this is actually where I found out that there was a $50K investment by the Litecoin Foundation. And again, there could be more to the story here, but I just took Crypto Medicated's tweet as kind of pointing out and saying that, look, Charlie was kind of tiptoeing around. And again, if this is true, if this isn't true, I have no idea. I'm just looking at this and taking it at face value. I'm interpreting this as Charlie was tiptoeing around responsibility and association with the Litecoin Foundation. So again, whether or not that's true, who knows? You have to speak to the big man, Satoshi Light, to figure out if that actually happened. But I'm taking this as also he's kind of just pissed off and upset that the Litecoin Foundation donated $50K. I'm interpreting this as $50K is too much money to be throwing at a company. Again, who knows? It really comes down to what their budget is and whether or not they should have foreseen these risks and accounted for them properly with the money that they provided during the seed funding. So again, that's just my 2 cents. For where's blockchain today? Extra. Blockchain is coming to USPS. And again, we're seeing a lot of companies release patents. MasterCard released a patent. PayPal released a patent. Everybody's releasing patents because it's the cool thing to do. And more importantly, you need to have a patent if you're going to start integrating this technology into your system. So here we have the United States Postal Service doing their thing. They released a patent, or filed a patent in September, and it's called Methods and Systems for a Digital Trust Architecture. I looked through the patent. As you can see, digital tokens were referenced 44 times. USPS posted a PDF in 2016 talking about blockchain, cryptocurrencies, and just kind of mulling over the idea of potentially adding a digital token for a blockchain-based system. And for blockchains, you kind of do need digital tokens to facilitate the transactions. You have to be transferring that information somehow. It doesn't have to be currency that you're exchanging. It has to be information that uses public key cryptography that is transferred over from one address to another. So again, that's what they're getting at by digital tokens. Value is relative. Value is subjective to what you're transferring over. It doesn't have to be money all the time. It could be information. Right now we're turning from the information from the Internet of Things to the Internet of Value. There's a really great video on that transition and how blockchain-based systems and decentralized systems and kind of making sure people are able to monetize their internet beings or kind of helping along with this transition from the Internet of Things to the Internet of Value. And that's basically the gist of what, at least how I interpreted UPS's, the Postal Service's patent. And again, they're proposing setting up personal accounts with public keys, and then basically Yellow Pages 2.0, where instead of having the first and last name, you would have public key addresses in a directory, and then you would be able to send over encrypted information to them through email. There's more detail to that, but again, it's just showing that, number one, the Pony Express is gone forever because there's no way they can compete with a blockchain system. There's just no shot. And on top of that, companies are just getting more sophisticated. Government bodies are getting more sophisticated. Everybody's kind of realizing that blockchain has a lot of value here, and it's going to be interesting to see when they implement this, and then what also follows. So yeah, I mean, more security, quicker, everything you normally hear. Quicker, faster, cheaper, more secure. Again, so that's really it. What else you should read today? The Twitter ban started today, so if you are going on Twitter, you're not going to see any of those scammy, fraud, Fox, showboat, cryptocurrency ads from James Altucher. Again, I think that guy is just... I've read too many articles on Medium that say that people lost money when they bought into his advertisements, so again, I just don't have respect for him because of that. I think that he's kind of running a scam with his quote-unquote premium content. I think the internet, you can learn way more than anything that he offered there, and for much cheaper. So again, say goodbye to any of those shady ads for now, which is great. Proof of work and proof of stake in an internet nutshell. Again, this is just an article on proof of work, proof of stake, and within that, the author discusses how they think that proof of stake is going to be the future dividend. The fact that everything is going onto a blockchain makes me think that could have some credence, and there could be some weight to that. So I'm going to just take a deeper dive into that article again and take a look. There's also a lot of proof of stake. The thing with proof of stake is that it gives you passive income too. So ARK Invest, I believe their cryptocurrency, well, the ticker is ARK. That's a token that you can hold, and it gives you passive income. I believe if you hold NEO, you get paid gas, GAS. That is basically the Ethereum for it pays for all NEO transactions. That's a very, very general understanding of gas that I have. But again, there's some passive income cryptocurrencies. that you can technically that you're able to earn from through proof of stake. And again, if the markets are sliding, then you're probably losing money at the end of the day. But you're accumulating more units of these cryptocurrencies. And digital assets. That's the point of this income. So again, if they appreciate, that's fucking awesome, because then you're going to make more at the end of the day. But that's that. This is more of a motivational read. I scrolled through it, haven't really read into it, but again, winners win and losers lose. This guy is a bit of this guy or girl, I'm not sure the gender, but again, a bit of a character in the writing. So again, there's some strong language in there, but basically it talks about how you basically have to bust your ass, do all the work you have to do in order to succeed, and how to get out of a losing condition and start focusing on getting better and just kind of, I don't know, cranking out good work, productive work, and yeah, I don't know, basically that. The 3 Bitcoin proposals that keep, again, the king BTC on the throne. We're going to go into those later in I think 2 slides after this. Alibaba has a payment affiliate called Art Financial Services Group. They are bullish on cross-blockchain compatibility. They aren't necessarily basically being able to transfer Ethereum tokens over to the Bitcoin blockchain and Bitcoin tokens over to the Ethereum blockchain. Basically just being able to transfer tokens from one blockchain to another. So that's a lot of projects are looking into this right now. One specifically that just launched the other day was that was the, I guess, cover story for DailyBit 69 is WanChain. They're looking into transferring assets or cryptocurrencies and digital assets across blockchains, making those compatible. And there's a lot of potential here too. I believe it's going to help with custodial risk, because if you're able to transfer digital currencies across blockchains, you're not going to have to rely on these central parties and send them over there in order to use their liquidity and start trading and exchanging through that means. So again, it's just another interesting thing that Art Financial Services is looking into. I don't believe they're as bullish about blockchain in general, because a lot of companies, like we saw the other day with the Habanero backed token, which I think is still, again, outrageous. I just don't know if it needs blockchain, and it probably doesn't. So again, you have to kind of look at the use case and say, do we need blockchain here? Because if we don't, this is a waste of time. We're looking for speed, cheaper, the same old stuff again. And the European Commission just approved a joint venture between IBM and Maersk. And again, we're going to look into that on another slide. But again, this has to do with supply chain solutions and how they're going to use blockchain to kind of produce more efficiencies there. For the Bitcoin improvement proposals, we've seen most of these already. The Lightning Network, we've beat like a dead horse. We've gone through it a lot. It has to do with instantaneous off-chain transactions that would be settled, and then I guess basically a piece of information confirming that those transactions took place would be added onto the blockchain. But again, it's all about compacting and reducing the amount of information that's actually needed on top of the blockchain to allow for more transactions. Masked, Merkleized abstract syntax trees. I'm not even going to try to tell you guys I know what this is about. I have no idea. I haven't looked into this at all. But again, this is coming from, if you check here, there's a link over to the actual site that I pulled this from. But Masked is basically going to reduce the amount of data that has to be recorded. It's the same thing as same gist as the Lightning Network, where there's just less data that's being stacked on top of Bitcoin's network and being used on the Bitcoin blockchain, just to make sure that we can kind of get more through the system at once. And confidential transactions, this is why Snowden does not like Bitcoin, or the fact that this does not exist is why Snowden doesn't like Bitcoin. Everything's too public for people to actually go about and, I guess, reap the advantages of a fully anonymous service. Bitcoin is synonymous right now because if you technically have your public address and that's visible, people can still track everything you do, even though there's no name pegged to it. They'll be able to follow all of your payments. And we do have these, I guess, blockchain services such as chain analysis, and I believe it's called, what is it, Affinity? Or Eclipse. Again, I don't think that's right, but there's these tools and analytical software that is able to trace the blockchain, the Bitcoin blockchain specifically, and find out where these transactions are taking place. Confidential transactions would make it more, I guess, aligned with Monero, Dash, other privacy coins, where you aren't necessarily able to perform that. Moving on, the joint venture between IBM and Maersk. IBM, everybody knows what IBM does. They're IT services, they deal with software, they are tech guys. And then Maersk, on the other hand, they're more of the supply chain guy, so I guess, shucks, maybe call it like white collar, blue collar integration here, but IBM is bringing their tech to the supply chain with Maersk, and they're going to be developing and commercializing a solution that's supposed to, again, end-to-end shipment visibility and document management for global trade. So again, using blockchain for these solutions with supply chains, because all these companies are shipping goods all over the world and the current systems are inefficient, so blockchain is going to make them efficient, and that's where you're going to see a lot of these partnerships come up. So again, I expect this to continue as there's more adoption throughout the world. For bulls and bears, we have the Request Network. They landed a big partner in Big Four public accounting firm, PwC, and their French branch. Their French branch of that. French branch. Jeez, I thought that was something. There was something wrong with that. But again, the partnership is with PwC France and then Francophone Africa, their blockchain lab. And the partnership is going to, again, help develop the future professional services. Basically, they're going to boost their R&D that they're doing with blockchain, and it's all going to filter down to the clients. So clients are going to get more value out of their services and their consultations with PwC, and any experimentations and research that's performed in the blockchain lab is going to kind of go along with Request Network. Request Network is going to help PwC with their services, and if you look at what Request Network has, they have a lot of use cases. I personally think that, PwC's accounting and auditing, this is where I think they're going to have the most benefit for PwC and a Big Four firm. And again, if you go onto the Request Network website, you can take a look at the online payments, invoicing, Internet of Things, and transparency values and benefits that come from there. But again, there's a lot of use cases, and it's, again, you can look through yourself. It's pretty self-explanatory that PwC, there's clear value here with the Big Four firm adopting some of these blockchain startups and partnering with some of these blockchain startups to start taking advantage of this and have kind of a more experienced organization take the reins and start, I guess, shaping this blockchain technology and making it more professional, more real-time, more scalable for actual projects. And again, this is funny. I think this is funny. It's funny, and then also you have to understand that this shows how unpredictable the space is. BlackRock put out this report on March 23rd. It is March 27th. So it's been 4 days, and they're a big claim that they made in their March research report for the Request Network is already out the window. They said that the Big Four are unlikely to build on top of Request because it will require incumbent accounting firms to adopt its platform. It seems like an unlikely scenario. And again, we just saw that clearly that's not the case. Throwing the Jay-Z meme there just to, again, embellish that it's kind of awkward. But again, you can't predict this stuff. You can't tell what's going to happen with all these blockchain projects. Who knows? It's all, again, these investment reports are meant to be kind of a directional cue to say, all right, like, we don't have much to go off of, but we've done our research. We came to these conclusions and are trying to understand why we think this. And clearly BlackRock supported their assumptions with some solid information, but it just turned out that, I don't know, PwC was more interested. And I mean, I'm going to be keen on finding out what BlackRock says, and if they provide an update. I'm sure they're going to provide an update. I haven't seen anything in the news that where they actually kind of addressed it, but again, I'm sure that'll happen in the future. But again, it goes to show you cannot guess any of this stuff. You can provide information, you can do your homework, but still everything can pivot, do a 180, and that's business. You can't get everything right. Hyrdro Quebec. They are a utility company in Canada, And again, their capacity for, well, I guess before we get into the capacity, I believe it's their officials, they basically said they're not looking at any cryptocurrency mining applications anymore. They're already swamped. There's so many people coming in soliciting use of their facilities. I mean, the facilities, their total capacity is 40,000 megawatts. The requests that they've gotten from cryptocurrency miners is 10,000 megawatts. That's only 100 people, or not 100 people, 100 operations that are coming in and knocking. And the town and the utility is realizing, like, we cannot do this. There's, like, it's winter here, it's cold here. They're using way too much electrical power, and if we allow all these operations to use electricity, we're not going to have enough left over for our citizens, and they're going to be saying, hey, like, what the fuck? Like, we need to fuel our homes. We need electricity to stay warm. Like, this can't go on any longer. And again, the commitments that a lot of towns are kind of seeing and areas around the world. We saw this with Plattsburgh, New York. They had a similar ban instituted a couple weeks ago, where they said, look, we're not looking at this anymore. There's no benefit to us, or there's a perceived benefit initially where you're going to pump money into the economy, give us some jobs, but the job growth is limited. The facilities are massive. They guzzle electricity, and again, there's a lot of noise because the heaters, even in Canada where it's supposed to be really cold. I've never been, so I guess I can't say personally, but it's cold up there, and even then you need to have these big fans that are going to cool down the systems, because you have to make sure that the software is protected and the mining equipment is protected, because it's really expensive. And again, there's no visible social, economic, or environmental benefits to cryptocurrency mining according to some of these provinces. There's another region in Canada that I think I mentioned in the newsletter. But again, they put a 3-month ban on all applications. They just said, look, you guys are not helping us any. You're not helping us. We're scratching your back. You're just sitting there taking it and kind of enjoying it. We can't have this relationship. We're kind of getting bundled right now. So we're going to take a step back, see where we can get value. But until then, like, don't even come knocking. We're not dealing with you. Wrapping up with education, we have self-directed IRAs, and the only difference between a self-directed IRA and a traditional IRA are the assets that you're allowed to hold in each of these, I guess, portfolios. Traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs, I don't know the actual details between those two, but I know that you can only hold stocks, bonds, and mutual funds in those. For self-directed IRAs, you're able to venture into the field of alternative assets. So here, you can invest in real estate, you can invest in digital assets, which is what we're going to be talking about, but at the same time, you can't really, it's not like free reign. It's not open season. You can't do everything. So collectibles, I believe this is maybe gold. I'm not sure. Take a look at the article here. It's linked right here. That'll give you, it's linked here. That'll give you more understanding what's going on there. But again, collectibles, life insurance, and commingling of personal assets between, I believe, a husband and a wife or spouses, whatever it might be. You can't mix those. Those are not allowed in self-directed IRAs. But again, with self-directed IRAs, there's more juggling. There's more adulting than with traditional and Roth IRAs, because you have to, or whether it's you or the person who's in charge of the fund or the portfolio, the investment decisions come down to that person. The institution that's actually holding the funds, they don't have to vet those investments in SD IRAs. So there's a little more responsibility there. The market, and because of that, the market is much smaller. It's a very specific niche. So similar to digital assets, there's a very particular niche compared to the larger market. Self-directed IRAs are approximated to be around a value of $50 billion, according to the Government Accountability Office, and the entire market value of all IRAs is about $8.5 trillion, which is massive. That's according to the Investment Company Institute. That's both of those pieces of information are pulled from this link here. But again, there's massive value here, and many people aren't really willing to go down the road less traveled with self-directed IRAs. Maybe as cryptocurrencies gain more prominence, we could see a swelling of that market cap if people do find it interesting at the end of the day. But right now, relatively small, and as currencies and cryptos kind of become more prevalent, people are going to say, hey, look, like, maybe I want to add these into my retirement portfolio because I think there's going to be value here. A lot of that might be untapped. People might still think there's an upside with this. And again, there's a couple questions that were outlined by Forbes, or by a Forbes contributor. Again, the link to the Forbes article is here, that you have to consider, or you should consider if you're thinking about putting cryptocurrencies and digital assets into your IRA. And number one, you have to use unregulated exchanges right now until there's decentralized exchanges. Well, I mean, there's decentralized exchanges right now, but some of the regulated centralized exchanges are still not super compliant. There's regulations and frameworks definitely being added on with KYC and AML and anti-terrorist funding and all that stuff. So security is coming, but it's not all there. So again, if you're investing in a foreign exchange, for example, if your funds are taken, the government can't necessarily track those down. So there's heightened risk there with custodial. There's heightened custodial risk. You can get hacked. You can, again, there's a lot of things that can go south with these exchanges. So you just got to be aware of that. Again, institutions don't vet the funds, so they could know that something is going to absolutely boil over, but it's up to you to determine whether or not you want to keep them. Again, it's invested at your own risk. And there are hundreds of digital assets. There's hundreds of equities and stocks too, but again, right now it's so nascent and so young, and a lot of them are hogwash, a lot of them are garbage. So again, it's searching for a diamond in the rough. You could pick a good one, and assuming that there's a lot of growth upside, you're going to be set. But if you pick a BitConnect, you're fucked, because you're going to lose all your money, and a lot of people don't really have a lot of people don't do their homework, and they're going to suffer from that as a result. So, again, maybe it's best that there's not a massive rush into self-directed IRAs, but if there is in the future, people just have to be aware of what's going on here and understand the risks in full. So, yeah, I mean, that's that. If you want to take a look at these articles, by all means, read through them. Tell us what you think. And, again, let me just see if... Okay, yeah, you can kind of see it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, appreciate it a lot. Let me just move this up. Okay. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Again, our website, if you want to subscribe to the newsletter, it's dailybit.news. We're going to be putting more interviews out there in the coming weeks. I'm actually putting together some questions for 2 companies right now, which I'm not going to mention the names of until we kind of get those more lined up. If you want to follow us on Twitter, it's at thedailybit.news. We constantly ban out content there. The slide shares are going to be posted A, on our Twitter platform, and then B, on Twitter, on probably LinkedIn too, Facebook, and Twitter. So again, if you want to check any of our social pages, go there. We're constantly throwing out blogs on Medium. If you want to write for us and you're interested in writing about literally anything under the sun with cryptocurrencies and blockchain, let us know. We want to get you involved. We want people to write about this. I've been doing this since I've been writing about crypto every single day during the week since the middle of December, and the knowledge that I've kind of accumulated has been unbelievably helpful. So I think it's a great way to learn about the industry, and I encourage more people to get involved in writing and kind of keeping a tab on the market, because that's really going to help you build a long-term vision compared to looking at charts every single day and trading if you're more of a trader. I started out doing day trading and definitely should not have done that if I wanted to, be better off at the end of the day. But I haven't traded as much now. I'm doing more researching, writing, speaking with people in the industry, thought leaders, so I definitely want to get more involved in that. And again, we want people to use our platform. So that's a bit of a spiel about our Medium, but that's what we're trying to do there. And again, that's it for today. We'll get back to you guys tomorrow with Daily Bit number 72. But until then, thanks a lot, and hope to see you tomorrow. All right. Peace, guys. Bye.